Hi guys, this is Nadia Hilker. I'm playing Magna on The Walking Dead, and you guys are listening to The Walking Dead Talk Through. I hope you guys enjoy this podcast, and I'm sending you all my love. Bye!
Hello, my name is Cassie McClincy. I play Lydia on The Walking Dead, and you're listening to The Walking Dead Talk Through. Yeah!
Hey there guys, I'm Callan McAuliffe and you're listening to The Walking Dead Talk Through on Talk Through Media.
Hey, I'm Lindsley Register and I play Laura on The Walking Dead. You're listening to The Walking Dead Talk Through on Talk Through Media.
Hey, this is Ross Marquand and you're listening to The Walking Dead Talk Through.
Awesome.
Hey survivors, welcome to episode 147 of The Walking Dead Talk Through. I'm Kyle.
And I'm LT.
And I'm Brian.
Yay!
Yay.
We're all here again, sort of.
Mostly.
For most.
I'm not gonna stay for the whole episode. I have lots of work to do, so I'm gonna cut out at some point, but I wanted to chime in about this episode. So
Yes, no, it's a good episode too to chime in. I'm happy to have you, even if you'll be here just for a little bit. But
yeah, I felt like it would be a good show to go into, and plus had a kind of a rough couple of days. I broke things. Let's try. I was doing a home office upgrade, and it ended up kind of not so good. I broke 2 monitors in the process.
Ouch.
Yes. So, thankfully, one of the 2 monitors has a replacement. The other one's coming tomorrow. So,
Hey, it's good. Good
but-
that you got a fix around it. Though.
Yeah.
I can only imagine. I'm like looking at my 2 monitors now, and I'm like, like I don't want to.
Anyway, so but we're ready. We're doing it.
Cool deal. All right. Well, we're going to be covering The Walking Dead Season 11, Episode 19, titled Variant. We did not get any or feedback to cover from last week's episode, The New Deal, or A New Deal. So let's continue on with this week's episode. It was written by Vivian Tse, directed by Karen. I messed this up last time. I even heard this.
Gaviola. Think of ravioli with an A instead of an I.
Gaviola.
I'm the worst at trying to pronounce it. Actually, it wasn't that long ago that I heard the last edit that I was working on and heard this and corrected me, and I still got it wrong.
Yeah.
I
was going to say, Kyle, you're not the worst.
It's just
you may be the worst on the you may be the worst on the podcast, but you're not the worst.
It's true.
It is true.
Well,
there are far worse people mispronouncing things than yourself.
Well,
take consolation in that.
All right, I will. All right. Well, the description of this week's episode from EMC Plus is Eugene is on the run. Mercer is tasked to find him. Aaron's group faces a complication on the road. Dun, dun, dun. All right, let's get into our ratings. LT, what did you rate this episode?
Well, I gave this one a 9.5 out of 10. Pamela is the evil one.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Little sentiment there. Yep.
You know, all this time we've been thinking it's all Lance Hornsby, but no. He was merely a pawn in her evil scheme.
Mm-hmm. That is true. Oh, well. I gave it a 9. Step out of my way, Haas. No need for this to get ugly.
Yes, and I told Kyle prior to us starting that I was going to give a very similar rating. No need to get this to get ugly. The way he says it. I love this episode. I think it was one of those things where the what the hell moment kind of came over me, and I initially was like, this is a 10. This is a 10. And I think it was that way maybe 3 times watching the episode. And then I'm kind of like, well, this section of the episode's a 10. I love the whole, Renaissance fair fighting scene. That's a 10, but I don't know if the whole episode is a 10. So I'm going to give it a 9.5. And I'll just say, how could a walker do that?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I go back and forth the same way too, where it's like, oh gosh, I love it the first time I watch it, but then when I actually sit down, and actually today I was able to actually do a rewatch, and then it was kind of like, okay, now my podcasting hat comes on, and then it's kind of like, oh yeah, that was kind of a little iffy. And then, I mean, overall, the episode was wonderful, as they have been, but if I'm going into ratings territory, then there was kind of like a little few little things that kind of dinged it. But, well, enough of that, because we'll be getting into it. So let's go into our listeners' ratings. LT, you want to take Dietta's?
Dietta from Detroit. And she says 9 out of 10. The wings are back. Daryl picking the vest up and putting it on again. It's about to get ugly. I forgot to mention this last week, but it still applies to this episode. And she goes on to say, Rosita kicking butt like we know she can. I love seeing her back in action.
Mm-hmm. Yep. There was a lot of little highlights like that this episode, which was nice.
Yes, there were.
All right. Well, Glenn from Toronto gave it an 8 out of 10 Mad Max.
Megan from Williamsburg, PA gives it 8.5 Bad Milton haircuts. She does have kind of a bowl cut.
It's like the bad Karen haircut.
Bad Karen.
Yeah, it's a bad Karen haircut. And we've got Mike from Asheville who says 9 out of 10. All hail King Jerry.
Jerry.
All right.
I thought of that a few times during this episode.
And Renee from Fairburn gave it a 10-10 climbing walkers, and then shock face. All right. Thank you everyone for your ratings. Let's get into our awesome sauce. LT, you want to take Dietta's?
I will. Dietta from Detroit says, Aaron, Lydia, Jerry, and Elijah fighting off the Supernova Walkers 5.0 at the Old Town Renaissance. Jerry moving like a samurai with his sword. I'm needing Aaron to change that hand out for his weapon of mass destruction.
All good ones. All right.
Yep.
Glennis from Toronto says, wow, those slick killer walker moves with the sword by Samurai Jerry. Amazing. On par with that time in The Walking Dead Season 5, Episode 9, What Happened and What's Going On, where they had the slow-mo of the walker kills near the gate at another estate of Shirewilt, where Noah was from, and Rick, Michonne, and Glenn were carrying a critically injured Tyrese with an amputated arm back to the car. Rick was shooting, Michonne was slicing, and Glenn was crushing them with the bat, an Easter egg for his fate. Yeah, they stepped it up a notch for sure with the whole...
Oh, yeah.
With the whole, here's, I don't know, it's just let's, just the kill shots. Like they're doing some more focuses on that. It's kind of awesome. All right. Next, Brian, do you want to take Megan?
Megan from Williamsburg, Pennsylvania says, Princess's acting during the goodbye scene with Mercer. Highlight of the episode for me.
I would agree for sure.
Yep.
I think I have it in my awesome sauce. All right. Well, you want to take Renee's, LT?
Yep. Renee from Fairburn says, Aaron looking like a snack. Let me go on and get that out of the way real quick. Because shrug, rolling, laughing. She goes on to say, Jerry slicing and dicing his way through the walkers, and I love the idea of Jerry being the king of his own castle.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Next is Mike from Asheville, and he's got a lot. I think he kind of sums up a lot of what we all were going to say tonight if no one brought him up. Jerry slicing and dicing the walkers. I love that they filmed that in slow-mo. I do not remember him fighting like that before, but it was pretty sweet.
No, he never did. Before he used to have that big axe, and now he has a sword. And there was like a whole segment on Talking Dead where, they talked about that and how he's actually very skilled with the sword. And, this is something that he's been like working toward for, I guess, a long time.
Nice. Oh, awesome to highlight that then.
Let me use the sword. Please let me use the sword.
Yes, exactly.
Sweet. Well, and it's very Michonne-esque, so that was kind of nice to see then. Somebody's doing it. He goes on and says that Ren Fair location, as soon as I saw it, I thought the same thing as Jerry. Great place to start up a new community. I would love to know if that was an active site in real life or an abandoned place. I don't know. Did they say anything on Talking Dead about that? Because I did not get to see that this week.
It's my impression it's active.
Yeah.
That it's actually still a working campground.
Yeah. Well, it looked nice.
Yeah, I got that impression as well. But I didn't get it. I didn't get the name of it, but just that he shot there for like a student film.
Yeah. No, it had a sign on it, but it didn't not a sign that we saw, but other than I guess Lydia and Aaron were standing on top of the gate or whatever, and there was like that banner, but it didn't say a name though. It was like some.
It just had like it had ye old Renaissance Fair. That's what I saw. I actually looked at it, but it wasn't like a sign. It was just a banner.
Right. Nothing to give any kind of like location.
A banner that had been, sitting there for 12 years.
Right. Which should say there was very, very excellent craftsmanship on that because it was still hanging.
Yes. Yes. The paper was made from sheep gut and whatever.
Yeah. He goes on, he says, Princess, we get more of her story, and I was happy to see her in this episode. Hopefully we get to see her again before the end, but her story about her mom and stepdad and stepbrother was heartbreaking. Then for her to call back to that saying bye to Mercer and how she knows he's a good man. Tear face emoji. Again, you guys are hitting all the points of the stuff that we all would have brought up, so awesome job. He goes on and says, Max standing her ground and refusing to sign the pardon, telling Mercer that their dad would be proud of her but ashamed of him. What a gut punch. Mercer got the 1-2 from both ladies in his life. Something tells me he's going to step up and start making moves next episode or soon. Yep. And smart workers, exclamation point. Yes. The one walker who fought back. I'm glad they had Aaron struggle with him to show how caught off guard he was. I don't think these smarties will play a big part in the final episode, but it's a nice setup for the spinoff. And I'll go into that later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I am not sure what the intent of it is, but it was nice to see them.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Especially we know that they existed earlier in the series.
Right.
Yeah, and we had talked about this, I think, off recording. I don't think it made the episode, but
yeah, I wasn't sure
last week. I don't think so, but I made the point that this would have been so much cooler, I think, if this had been introduced several seasons back, because it could have, think about it. I mean, they could have done more with the Whisperers, say. Kind of playing that in if they knew about these variants, and the fact that it was never really mentioned, like Rick could have mentioned it.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
what's his name? Glenn could have mentioned
somebody earlier.
Yeah.
Right.
But like we know Rick and Glenn, for example, both witnessed that one walker climbing fences, the ones in the department store with the rock. And,
Yeah.
so.
It was one of those things where, well, actually, I wasn't sure. I might as well just go ahead and mention it because it's kind of being brought up now. Because it was, I put it in my weak sauce just because I kind of wasn't sure where to put it. I didn't want to just like throw it out there, but it was like, especially because Mike mentioned it. But yeah, I thought we might have talked about it on the show. Maybe we did do it like before we even started recording. But it was like, this would have been nice to see like throughout. And, you know, we did see it in season 1, and obviously there was like a new showrunner after season 2. So things change up always as how they do it. So it's like they could have just kept this going, and it would have been just like a little side note and just have like little, like, you know, hints of something. But, you know, they didn't do that. And now because they did the whole thing after World Beyond with that the French connection, and now we're getting an episode actually called Variant, and they're showing that, and it's like, you know, is it just kind of a fun little callback? Is it just a little like, hey, we're actually going to be doing something with this? Or is this like setting up for maybe the Daryl spinoff? You know, I don't know where they're going to go with it. And so I guess we'll just have to see, but it does feel a little gimmicky because I don't know how this would actually fit in this show, because they are following the comics. And we know that they can change things up, but it does seem a little gimmicky, just being like, oh, here's a little tease of something that's going to happen outside of this show. That's kind of my feeling. Maybe the Negan and Maggie spinoff, like maybe in New York they have different types of zombies, so they have the fashionista zombies, you know, and so they're gonna be a little bit more like scarier and dangerous, and that's kind of what that's gonna be, you know, be like. I don't know.
The zombies ignore you as long as you don't make eye contact.
Yes, or as long as you're wearing a fedora, then you're invisible to them. Oh, anyways, well, thank you, Mike, anyways, for making a good, you know, pointing that out.
Invisible by fedora.
I don't know. I just think of like hipsters.
Yeah.
Anyways, and then last he says Eugene trying to be being tough against Daryl. How cute was that? I like that Daryl didn't manhandle him. He just let it play out, knowing how it would go. Eugene may not be the most brave, but he put those he loves first. His character arc has been one of the best ones of the show over the years. Very, very much agree. Actually, there's been, that scene was really, really great just because we know that Eugene, and it's kind of like I don't want to say that he's a coward, because I don't know, I feel like that's kind of harsh, but he has a very innate sense of self-preservation. Mm-hmm. You know, he's from when we first saw him to even now, it's like he that's one of his kind of overarching things, like what keeps me safe. Like I don't want to die.
Call it like it is, Kyle. He's got a weasel streak, and if he sees an opportunity for him to play, you know, the weasel card to get him out of a situation, he'll do it.
Oh yeah. No, for
now,
sure.
I think he has some limits, but I absolutely think that he would, you know, he would be the one to fake a hammy pull in PE class to get out of running laps. And he was probably good at it too.
Yeah, or like take Epicac to fake, you know, having a stomach flu or something. Yeah, I can see it.
Yep, that's totally true. I can see that for sure. All right, well, thank you, Mike. As always, that was awesome. All right, well, that leads us into our own awesome sauce. LT, I see that you have a lot of fun, cool things in there, so why don't you take it off?
Okay, well, just like we were just talking about, I definitely had to give, you know, props to the writers for Eugene having his sudden man up moment against Daryl. Of all the people to man up against, Daryl. And like everybody's already said, that Eugene was in his classic, move away, sir, or I will have to engage you in fisticuffs. And he's like in the classic, Victorian boxer stance, and Daryl's looking at him like, come on, man, really, come on. And you notice that it didn't take much to stand Eugene down, but the fact that Eugene felt strongly enough about, not leaving Max that he decided to bow up on Daryl, that was pretty cool. One of the other things that I liked was when Aaron does the Scooby-Doo villain reveal on the Smart Walker, because you notice he thought it was a whisperer, and he's like, let's see who this bad guy really is. And he grabs his face and goes, and it's like a skull. And he's like, what? It's like he was going to pull the mask off, and he goes, it's old man Finkelstein. And I'd have gotten away with it too if it hadn't been for you meddling kids.
If a walker could talk, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, literally, and it was so cool to listen to Ross Marquand talk about it, but the fact that he grabbed that, what he thought was the mask, he just went yoink, and it was like, it's not a mask. One of the other things I think was pretty awesome was, as previously mentioned, we get to see Rosita, doing those ass-kicky things that Rosita does. Well, of course, with the two big dudes, they eventually put a bag on her head, but still, she did get a good fight in before they got her. I really like the way they're doing Mercer's character right now, because you can tell that he's struggling with his conscience, because he wants to be a good big brother and he wants to take care of his sister, but he's still trying to play the game. And it's like he's trying to figure out, well, where do my loyalties really lie? Mm-hmm. All the people in town have invested all this trust in me to be, Mr. Red suit security guy. But, I think that, Max cut him to the quick when they brought up his dad. So, I think it's going to be interesting to see just how that works out, because we're going to be in a situation next week where I think the stakes are going to go up, and it's going to be a lot tougher for Mercer to decide whose side he's on.
He's on. Yeah. I have to say that this was probably my favorite part of the whole entire episode, was just the whole Mercer and his interactions with, obviously, with Princess, and with Rosita.
I really have to go in and say, as a side note to that, major big props to Paula Lazaro for those scenes that she did when Princess is talking about previously. And you kind of understand why she is like she is now. You kind of get that part of that quirkiness and part of the way she is because of that trauma she had when she was a kid. And so for her to tell Mercer that, I think that was a big step for both of them. And I think it should make sense to him why she's being like she's being. Mm-hmm. It was definitely well acted. And while he didn't necessarily say as much, I think that his body language communicated that scene just as much as the way that she delivered those lines. So, I was really pleased to see that with the two of them.
Yeah, for sure.
And let's talk about our boy Lance Hornsby there for a second. You're thinking that, oh, he's in trouble now. And that whole scene with him and Pamela is just so, as we've already said about the strangely and freakishly erotic, there was some real freaky energy between the two of them in that scene. And I'm thinking, oh, this is going to turn out badly. And it's like, oh no, this is not going to turn out badly. And I'm like, oh, it's going to turn out worse than I thought. Whenever they brought Junior in on the dog catch pole, brought him in, unhooked him, and then threw the machete on the ground. And I'm going, this is not good.
Well, and then what Milton even said, it was just all like, you said you would do anything for a family. It's like, well, I don't have anything, or here he is, or something like that. It was like, you get to deal with him now.
and yeah, that scene was pretty intense. Just like when she was in the morgue and she's, talking to Sebastian and petting his hair, and I'm sitting here thinking, did they shank him in the gourd, or is he still gonna wake up? And then when he started doing I'm thinking, oh no. Because there for a second, I said, is she gonna like get bit? Is she gonna? And then it turned out, no, this was worse. She basically, I don't know if it's quite like a Sasha level of weaponized, but it was definitely interesting that she would, after all that, she put, zombie Sebastian in the room with Lance.
Yeah, she had other sinister plans.
Oh, yeah. And as I have said a little earlier, and I will say again, I think that all this time we were thinking that Pamela was just clueless and just going along, and she was, trying to maintain the status quo, and she wasn't in touch with the little people. But then that whole notion went right on its ear and out the door, that we've been thinking that Lance was the bad guy all this time. It's like, no, Lance was a bad guy, but I think Pamela was worse. It's just that we didn't know it.
Right.
And that once she had the opportunity, see, now I've got questions. I'm thinking, well, maybe because we had postulated that Lance was behind all the people that disappeared. But seeing how she was in this episode, maybe it was Pamela that was the real, maybe that she was giving orders to Hornsby to do these things. Well,
it's one of those like plausible deniability type things, where, letting him do the dirty work and her kind of staying detached,
What's worse, the fact that he was doing it behind her back and she was clueless to it, or he was doing it behind her back with her fully knowing what he was doing, but sort of having that, as you said, a plausible deniability that, oh, well, Lance just went off the rails and I don't know what was going on with him, to maintain that shiny, clean image. Yeah. So the last awesome I have is just waiting to see what happens next week, because, the guys on the road in the wagon are going to make it to Oceanside, maybe, after surviving their night at the zombie Ren Fair. We know that Rosita is been carted off somewhere with a bag on her head. We know that Eugene gave himself up, and so he's in a cell somewhere.
Yep, and Max is somewhere too.
And Max is somewhere, maybe in another cell with a bag on her head. And so now we know that Pamela is out to get the Alexandrians.
Mm-hmm.
So this is gonna be not just the fact of we've got to worry about, are the zombies coming, but this is going to be are our heroes going to be able to make it out of the Commonwealth? And the very last awesome thing that I've got to say is, what did we say at the end of 11B? We all kept saying, well, I hope to God they bring it on this last set of episodes. And so far, I'm not disappointed.
I would agree.
Very much.
I was hoping that they were going to pump up the volume and actually write some, good stuff. And I have a sidebar to that, which I'll drop in later sauce. But right now, like I said, I'm on the edge of my chair. I want to see what happens. I haven't been this way with the Walking Dead franchise in quite some time, and I like it.
Nice. Yep. Brian, do you have anything to add?
Well, I mean, I already kind of expressed the Renaissance Fair scene. Loved the surprise of it because I was really surprised by it when it first happened. And I always kind of enjoy shows when they surprise me. It's always been kind of a thing. So there's that. I mean, this feels a lot like, another episode where, it's, I wouldn't say it's filler, but it's not, it's just, we're moving the chess pieces.
Right. The setup.
It's an episode of 8. So it's number 3 of 8, I think we'll, have more tension with next week's number 4 of 8, and then the week after that, and so on and so on. But it's so far the first 3 episodes have been really good. As far as the stuff going on in the Commonwealth, there's more and more political tension, the dynamics between Hornsby and Milton and even Sebastian in Death are interesting. And even when we see Sebastian's dead, Hornsby is definitely down, not completely out, but close to being out, and Milton is kind of like emerging, showing her true evilness, I think. It's interesting, and I think it's just going to be a good 8 episodes. As far as I've seen this episode, it's funny, my notes suck, but I've seen this episode 5 times, I think, so I should be able to talk to it.
Wow.
So I would say, let's see, another thing that kind of, I guess I'll save that for Sauce, so I won't put that here. The vignettes at the beginning, I'm loving. I love seeing Eugene and Abraham. Yeah. And the whole, I'm on a very important mission, and then I'm not a scientist. But anyway, seeing those clips back to those initial, episodes with Eugene, they brought back memories for me. I like how they're doing that in these 8 episodes. What else? A lot of it's kind of all jumbling together because I've watched most of these episodes in back to back fashion. Hint, I've seen episode 12 already. I don't want to spoil
cross over.
Yeah, but what else can I say other than the fact that
Awesome.
I don't know. I can't think of anything. Maybe I will if I take a look at somebody else's notes.
Well,
so go ahead.
Always chime in. Yeah,
Sure.
I like basically LT hit a bunch on it. Mike already hit a bunch on it, so I don't really need to go more into it. But it was just Mercer and Max. Actually, Mercer being the center is like just the interactions between Princess with Mercer with Ezekiel. Just like basically the whole theme of the whole episode I thought was all centered around Princess, and I love seeing her don her pink feathery jacket again from when we first saw her. But it was like, I don't know, Princess has always, like, when we first met her, she was very, like, I think even I'd have to go and listen back to what, my comments were. But I mean, I think there was some parts of like, oh yeah, she's just crazy. Okay, whatever. But how does this fit and everything? It's like, okay, whatever. She just kind of got thrown onto us. And then, Eugene and Yumiko and all them were all kind of like on their little mission to find Stephanie or whatever. But, it's like you look at her as a character and it's like, oh yeah, her first meeting where it was kind of like, oh, you just had a feeling like, okay, she's just kind of this person. I don't know. She had some weird episodes because obviously there was like the COVID, situation where they were doing all these like, one-offs and like, so like they didn't really get to like flesh out her character that much to us. We didn't get to hear a lot. Like we kind of were just like left with what they gave us. And then now to where we're getting up to this point, it's like they gave us so much like depth into her character, like knowing like just the way she acted it and how, we like got that insight of like, this is how she was, like, this is where she comes from. This is why she was interacting the way she was, she even said it to Mercer, just being like, I met Eugene and he just let me be, and he got me and like, he saved me. And, I don't know. It's just, she was the star of this episode. I loved everything that she did. Her acting was amazing. Just the connections that, they did for this whole, episode. I'll just leave it at that. It was awesome. All right. Well, the next is our weak sauce.
You're worthless and weak.
Looks like we got one. LT, you want to take Megan?
I shall. Megan from Williamsburg says, the Commonwealth didn't think to look for Eugene in the church.
Oh, that's too obvious. It's a hidden church. I don't know.
Oh, I'm going to dance on that a little bit.
All right. Well, that was all of our weak sauces that we got. I had a weak sauce, but we just already talked about it with Brian about the variants and all that stuff, what we talked about. So, LT, do you have any weak sauce you want to take a gander at?
I'm 100% with Megan on this one. So why didn't they look in the church? Because who's the pastor of the church? Father Gabriel. And where did Father Gabriel come from? Alexandria. And who is hanging with the Alexandrians? Eugene. I mean, what is this? Is this the Walking Dead equivalent of the Highlander sanctuary that you can't go in the church? We're expecting, and I can't think of his real name again, dang it. But the guy who voices Mr. Krabs doing the Kurgan going, Sanctuary Highlander.
I can't remember that.
It's Chauncey Brown, maybe. It's something like that. But I just always thought it was funny that the Kurgan is Mr. Krabs. But that's... Oh my God, we actually had a SpongeBob tie-in. And my next bit of weak sauce is, well, of course Jerry got hurt. That was the worst thing ever. It's like they're pushing the wagon, and I said, somebody's going to get run over. And sure enough, it was Jerry. And so, of course, Jerry's hurt when they're fighting the walker that can turn doorknobs and climb. I'm like, oh, come on. And
pulled one out of the fear.
Yeah. And it's like the obvious, oh, you've got to get hurt trope. And even that said, I've got to put it in weak sauce because I'm looking at you, writer's room. So where was this level of writing in season 7 and season 8 and season 9 during the Whisperer Wars? Why didn't you buckle down and do your homework and write some really, really compelling stuff? And I'm not saying all of it was bad, but let's be honest, kids. Of the entire run of the series, the Whisperer arc was not always the strongest section of the series.
I'd also say like the second season of Negan. It was like that dragged on.
But I'm just saying, let's not forget the Savior War drug out just a little too long. But I'm just saying, guys, you're just smashing it out of the park now. Where was this when you're in the malaise of the middle of the series, when we think, oh, we're going to be writing this show forever?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, you could have given us something, I mean, half this good, 3/4 this good back when, and God knows, I'm not going to mention the other Walking Dead series we podcast on. Because I would give anything to have, Whisperer War level writing on Fear, but that's another story for another day. Just saying, guys, this is incredible. I'm loving it, but it's because it's the last hoorah. You should have buckled down, put your pens to some paper, and written something like this, a couple of years ago, and maybe we wouldn't be here right now. Maybe we would have gotten another season. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just saying, just venting my frustration as a fan.
Nope, but you make some good points, because that's kind of what I was thinking earlier when we were talking about just like, how like some of our awesome sauces. And it was kind of like, they have been hitting it out of the park. It seems like really the last, the last 4 episodes of part 2, and then now into this, it was like, man, it's like, gosh, this is like getting so good, it's so exciting. I'm like, every week I'm like I'm ready to see more. And it is be like, there obviously is like, they know that it's coming to an end. And that's where I was thinking, I'm like, well, yeah, they have 8 episodes left. So it's like they're wrapping stuff up and giving it to us, and like, it's we're not getting ready to have an episode of where it's just like, oh, hey, here's Daryl and Carol going out to the cabin and there's nobody else, and then the next episode is going to be like, oh, here's like, Ezekiel just playing doctor in the farm, and then we're just like, getting, and that's it, and we don't see anybody else. It's like, obviously that's not going to happen, but it's like, man, yeah, you're right. Like, why couldn't we have saw some of this? Like, basically, it's they know exactly where they want to go with this, and so there's no like trying to like filler, and hopefully they're going to knock this one out of the park and give us like the end as is going to be satisfying. And it's just kind of like, yeah, it's like I wish I could have saw this much like in previous seasons, but
yeah, that's what that's all I ever wanted.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll see what happens in the spin-offs, because we do have the Rick and Michonne new series, like maybe we'll have to see. I don't want to like spend too much time on it.
Yep.
Alrighty, well, that is it for our weak sauce. So let's get into our what sauce.
What?
And I will go ahead and start with Megan Lehman from Williamsburg. She says, why didn't the townspeople continue to take down Pamela after Sebastian's recorded speech revealed the Empress had no clothes? Good question. Good question. Actually, I thought that was... it was like, I would just add that I remember, so we see that, the speech goes, the people get all angry. Then of course the walkers are all let loose, and then Sebastian basically gets eaten. And then in this episode, like, we see Eugene think that he's trying to find Max, but then he grabs that other woman, I guess wearing a similar like sweater, and then turns around. It's like, oh, it's not Max. And then she's like, oh, you're the one that killed Sebastian. And it was just like so weird because I was kind of like, okay, wait, don't you guys hate him? Like, do you not like him? And then also there's like the whole loudspeakers playing basically him betraying you citizens. And it seemed kind of weird. It was like, oh, wait, like, are you like on Team Milton? And you say that? It's like, and then also it was kind of like, how did you even see, like, there was not a clear... Not that in my recollection that you even saw Eugene do anything that made Sebastian even get eaten. It was just like he knocked him out of the way, but people are running and screaming all over around him. So it's like, it just seemed like, okay, actually Sebastian just kind of got a walker, like got him. Not that someone actually killed him. So I don't know. Just a little iffy.
Yep. All right. Guess next up's Mike from Asheville. Mike says, was it just me or did Sebastian take a really long time to turn? I didn't catch it. What was the last thing Pamela said to Hornsby after saying the body was still warm?
I don't know if it was like long because I don't really know that we got a real kind of clear passage of time. It seemed like it was still in the same day.
Yeah, but it was still faster than the sanitation, the sanitation crew was far faster than he was.
Yeah. Maybe they had him.
You could make the argument, well, they did have him in the meat house. So,
right.
Maybe cold affects how long it takes to turn, but still.
Yeah. That's kind of one of those things where it's just very, they turn conveniently when they need to, because we've seen them where they turn almost immediately. And I know that happened in Fear some that were just like, oh, as soon as they die, it's like, boom, they're already turned into a walker. And then the last thing that Pamela said to Hornsby, I don't have the exact, so basically she was basically saying like, hey, like Lance basically said, it's like, hey, after winning the coin toss was like, I will do whatever your family needs me to do, to help you, blah, blah. And then she says something and says like, oh yeah, like you said you would help my family. It's like, oh, well, there's no one left basically in the sense that like you killed my son or my son's dead. And then I think she threw one of his henchmen in there and was saying, I think, like, you're going to feed my son. Like, that's your job now. You said you would help and do anything for my family. So you feed him. Oh, here's a body of your henchman. It's still warm. So feed him. So I think that's what she said.
That's even worse.
Yeah. But I think that's what she was saying. She was just like, here's the warm, it's still warm, feed my son. So she's going to keep Sebastian alive or Walker alive.
Yeah, but do walkers have to eat to survive?
No, but just like the governor would feed his daughter, it was just to kind of like subdue them. So that's
a ritual thing, I guess.
Yeah. All right. Well, next is Renee from Fairburn. She says, oh my God, man, I could not believe when I saw the walker turning doorknobs and picking up rocks. I need answers quick, fast, and in a hurry. I don't know if we're going to. I think we've been given the answers or just what they're going to give us.
But who knows? We may yet see another smart walker.
Yeah. I'm just not sure where it fits in, so...
Well, and I have one more what to say about them in a moment.
Okay. Well, that was all of our What Sauces, our listeners. So that goes into our What Sauces. So why don't you take it away, LT?
Yes. Well, my first What Sauce is Lance and Pamela sitting in a tree.
Ooh.
I'm not going to say the other part because even I can't go there, but I'm just saying it just seems like all of a sudden is this her idea of foreplay? I just, like I said, there's just a weird dynamic with those two, and I don't know.
Yeah. And this is also that it seemed that to me it seemed like it came on very strong really quickly. So
yeah. Since you haven't said it yet, I can't agree with you. So I think the last what that I have is sort of a segue into what Renee said. Okay. And it's also something that you and Brian were talking about earlier is, okay, so if we had these smart walkers out here all the time, how do you think the smart walkers would have done with the whisperers? See, I think the problem would have been if you'd have had a smart walker in the pack, I don't think the whisperer's camouflage would have worked so well. Because you noticed that this walker turned its head. It was paying attention. So I think the whole plausible deniability of smart walkers is I don't think the whisperers would have been able to operate with such impunity had they had dead with more attuned senses.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess we'll find out.
And you go ahead and say your thing so I can agree with you.
So you can agree? Okay. The Ren Fair. All right. So was this... Okay, so this place was somewhere on the way to Oceanside from the Commonwealth, and it has walls, and it seemed to be a pretty nice place. And so I was thinking, like, out of all of this time that our people, like, we're still having issues with the distance, but obviously, like, Alexandria on Oceanside, like, all in the hilltop, they covered a lot of ground looking for, like, supplies and all this other stuff, that it was like, okay, wait, how did this place, for one, leave pretty much unscathed? And yet, how did they not know that this place already existed? It was like, how did they never cross that on their travels? They've had to have had people scouting all the time. Like, our people would have not have, like, even Eugene sets up communications and, like, on water towers, so that everybody could communicate with each other. And yet somehow this place was too far, and, like, was he just leaving Commonwealth? Was it the suburb of the Commonwealth that they were just, that's as far as they got? So I don't know. It was just seemed very, very weird that there was a place that had walls that seemed completely just in perfect condition to be taken over and, like, set up a community.
And it still goes back to, so how are we finding a place that is so ideal for settlement and nobody's found it yet?
Right.
Are you going to say, oh, well, it's just on a direction of travel that nobody's been on? Well, was it not happening in Alexandria that when they were going out doing these supply searches that they were basically fanning out and going in all directions?
Right.
Was this just one rest stop further than they went when they were out scouring the countryside for supplies? Cool location. Absolutely loved it. Thought it was really great. But Kyle hit it on the head. So if you've got this wonderful place that's got roofs and walls, how come nobody's there? And the subtext to that for me is, how come nobody's found it by now if it's still in proximity of all these places that we've lived in for years and years, and obviously lived in for years and years, and are intimate enough with the roadside that we know where all the things are?
Right.
It just whats me up one side and down the other that you're suddenly going to find some place that we don't know about.
Yep.
Because it means either we have really crappy scouts, or they did like the guy with, now I'm going to forget her name too. The guy with Leah's group that was supposed to be on patrol that just went, there's nobody here, and turns around and leaves.
Yeah.
Alexandria is starving and we need supplies. We went far enough. Let's go home.
Like, that's it. It's not here anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know. It makes me think of like that, like Civilization, or like any of those games where it's like you have that cloud of like where it hides the map. And so if you don't go over there, it doesn't reveal the map, so you don't know what's over there. And it was just like, oh, everybody's just like, oh, are you just staying within your little area? And it's like, oh, we already know this. So we don't need to go explore over here. It's like, we'll stay on the road, but we're not going to go right or left a mile to see what's there. I don't know. That's the picture in my head. It was like, oh yeah, like we can't see over there. That map has not been charted yet, but we're not going to deal with that.
Well, in the old days, they had that section of the map that said, there be dragons here.
Maybe that's it.
The end of the map. Maybe the Ren Fair pissed off the people at AAA and they didn't put them on the road maps or something. But that's sort of, I'm making my own point. But if it was like a campground or a Ren Fair, it's going to be on a map. There's going to be some road so that you can drive cars to the place.
Right.
So again, why are we just finding out about this?
Yep. Oh, well, because
it needed to be somewhere we've never been before, I know.
Yes, and it looked cool. And they can sit there and say, King Jerry, yay, dialogue. All right, well, enough of that for the what sauces. So that takes us into our oh hell no sauce.
Oh, hell no.
All right, well, our first oh hell no sauce comes from Renee. She says, Eugene, seriously, shock face, seriously, you put your dukes up to fight Daryl? Rolling on the floor laughing. The way Daryl looked at him was the funniest thing ever. Rolling on the floor laughing. And then she also says, Mercer, I'm going to need you to put your big boy boxers on and start making moves because you're really beginning to get on my last freaking nerve. Angry face, angry face, angry face. He'll get there.
Yeah, we hope. So Dieta from Detroit says, what in the type of 5.0 supernova walker is this? It climbed a ladder, then picked up a whole rock and swung it to attack, and they were not whisperers like Aaron originally thought. I need answers about these new supernova walkers 5.0. This is getting real. And I agree.
Yep. I love the supernova walkers because it reminds me of the Pinto, the atomic Pinto.
Well, it's like we already said. In the first season, you had walkers that could climb and negotiate stairs and open doors. And then, they went away. We just saw old conventional shambly, slow moving, creepy walkers. And now, we're back to door opening, rock carrying, climbing walkers. Mm-hmm. So, who knows? I mean, maybe they snuck out of a secret lab in Washington, D.C.
Or maybe from the CRM. Maybe that's it.
Hey, you never know.
Yep. Oh, well, thank you, Renee and Dieta. All right, well, then that leads us into our sad and aw sauce. Aww. All right, first comes from Dieta from Detroit. She says, Elijah and Lydia kissing. Aw, kiss face, or the lipstick kiss looking emoji.
Yep. Next is Renee from Fairburn, who says, Lydia and Elijah making puppy dog eyes at each other. Heart, heart, heart. Aw, super cute. And when Lydia pulled away, he was looking sad, but then she came back and kissed him. Heart, heart. Those kids have been through so much and have lost so many loved ones. I'm happy they fell in love with one another. They make a cute little couple.
Aw.
And hearts.
Yep. Cute. Yes. Yeah. Hopefully that doesn't mean anything bad, because you know what happens when people fall in love during the apocalypse.
Yes, we do.
All right. Well, that was all our listeners sad and aw sauce. So let's go into ours. And Brian, what did you have for your aw sauce?
I was gonna say Lydia and what's his name again? Elijah. Thank you. Just those two, first love. Well, in the case of Lydia, I guess it's second love, but just them kind of discovering love and discovering, that young love in the apocalypse. It reminds me back to Glenn and Maggie a little bit, although they were older, more like Carl and Enid, I guess, although they're a little younger, I guess. But yeah, just that all that, I thought that was cool. I like that she like kind of pushed back and he kind of took that as rejection, as a boy would. And I like the scenes with Aaron and them talking about Eric and Aaron. There hasn't really been any talk about that relationship in quite a while, so it was nice to see them go back to it.
Mm-hmm.
And just at the end, her kind of going back and kissing him. So I liked all of that. I thought it was cute and sweet, and so I give it an aw. Not a sad, an aw.
No, yeah, I basically had the same kind of sad or not sad. It's sad in the sense of like sad of like, oh, I'm reminiscing and I miss, it's all coming to an end, and like seeing all the little flashbacks in the beginning that they've been doing. It's been like, oh my gosh, it's like I remember those times. They're taking along, they're pulling at our heartstrings for sure.
Right.
But yeah,
but I mean, the best part about it is, well, although he was mentioned by name, they didn't show Henry, because
no, they didn't.
That would have just that would have spoiled it for me. I was never a Henry fan, but
maybe that's why they didn't show him.
Yeah, but I'm glad that he meant so much to so many other people, just not to me. So
yeah, no. Anyways, yeah, that was I just kind of along the same lines. Rosita and Eugene, like they did a lot of like little like our pairings, and it was just awe, and I loved that part of it. So that's kind of part of my sad and aw sauce.
Yeah.
Yep. I'll go with that.
Sweet.
I was just going to say that, yes, I'm glad that Lydia's got a boyfriend. I agree with you that the sad part of it is that we know how well romance works out in the apocalypse. I'm kind of in my feels over Mercer and Princess, because I think that this is the first time he met somebody that he really likes. I think this is one of those. Maybe he's dated around a little bit, considering I don't know how deep the dating pool is in the Commonwealth. But, he met somebody who was spunky and who wouldn't take any crap off of him. And I think he likes that. And I'll leave a couple of those to you, but I will concur on at least two of them. So go ahead, sir.
All right. Well, that was all our sad and aw sauces. So let's get into our feedback.
We can talk about it. Done talking. Time to listen.
And we have voicemail, as always, from Renee from Fairburn. And she gave us a little bit of written feedback that she got just in the nick of time before we started recording. So thank you, Renee, for getting that in so fast. So we'll go ahead and we'll play Renee's voicemail.
Hi guys, this is Renee from Fairburn calling in about The Walking Dead. Alrighty, this episode here, it was good. I mean, and of course, I'm just going to start off. I'm not even thinking about the Commonwealth. Like, I'm not even going to mention them yet. OMG, walkers that know how to open doors, turn doorknobs, and know how to climb. Where are we headed in The Walking Dead? It was like, what the hell? When he started turning the knob, I'm like, what? Then when he started climbing up the wall, I'm like, OMG. But when they said whispers, I didn't think the whispers. I just was thinking, like, this is some new walkers they're introducing us, us to. I didn't think it was the whispers. They didn't cross my mind. Even when Aaron said, I'm like, I don't think that's the whispers. No, I don't know. This is some new shit The Walking Dead got going on, but I love it. Hey, I'm here for it. It's like, where are we headed? See, I love that. I love that they introduce us to something new. And then I think about on the World Beyond at the end when they was talking about walkers. I forgot what they talking about. Walkers opening doors, running fast, or they were running fast. But like I say, World War Z, I love that movie, but I just don't like the walkers that run fast. I kind of want walkers to be slow, and klutzy and stuff, but I don't mind the ones that are turning doorknobs and climbing. I just want to know where we headed because that was amazing. Okay, so now on to Commonwealth. Mercer. When Princess was telling a story about how her stepdad and the stepbrother and the mom was okay with it and let them mistreat her and stuff, just the look on Mercer's face. I mean, he couldn't even say anything. He didn't say anything. Like, she talked the whole time and he never opened his mouth because, like, what could you say? And then when she was like, and if I'll allow it, then I'm my mom. I'm accepting it. And if you allow it, you're my stepdad. So that part was really powerful. I mean, the analogy that she used, that was really powerful. And I really think that Mercer is going to, I heard Mercer does not die though. I haven't read the comic books, so I really don't know, but I'm hoping that Mercer does not die because I really think that touched him. And, whereas his sister, the things that she was saying, I don't think it got to him like that. But what Princess said, it was like, wow, that's deep. And Pamela, I have been telling y'all the whole time, Pamela knows what's going on. She knows what's going on. She knew. And I was saying maybe she didn't know all the details, but she knew there was some sordid stuff going on. She just didn't care. Like I said before, it's like what's going on today. They just don't care. They turn the other cheek. But I think Pamela knows the sordid details as well. Because she seemed kind of cuckoo because she was sitting there talking to Sebastian, and then she didn't want them to kill Sebastian, and she put him in the room with whatever, I can't even think of his name because he has become obsolete. And then when she was rubbing his face and stuff, I'm like, what the hell? Y'all got some crazy crap going on in the Commonwealth. It's a little deeper. And so yeah, she knows, and she has always known what was going on. She's just evil. She's very evil to me. She looks evil. But overall, like I said, the episode is pretty good to me, and I think they're doing justice to the last episodes, the last part of the season, and the last episodes of the actual flagship Walking Dead. Of course, we're gonna get others, but I think they're doing a pretty good job. I was truly impressed. Alrighty, and Alma, I see that you reached out to me, and I'm going to reach back out to you. I have been just so freaking busy going to event after event after event. And the thing is, I do not know how to say no. First of all, I don't want to say no. I love getting dressed up, getting cute, and going to, different events. I really do. So, I'm just talking, but, I have missed you guys so much. And like I said, I'm normally, like I've said before, I listen to you guys when I'm at the gym. And because I have been so busy, I haven't even been able to listen to you guys at the gym. So I really don't know what you all said about the Zoom. But I'm really hoping that we're going to be able to, do that. Because I will have to, I don't know, if Walking Dead was not continuing, I would have to start watching Star Trek. And I have never liked Star Trek. Just so, I can stay in touch with you guys. But I will talk to you guys later. Bye.
Oh, thank you, Renee. As always, awesome. Yeah, you made, we touched on some of those points, but yeah, obviously the show they're doing is such a great job.
And if there's no Walking Dead, we'll find something else to podcast about.
Well, yes, that's for sure. You don't have to jump over to Star Trek if you don't want to watch Star Trek.
You just have to, we have to find something that you're going to watch.
Yeah. Well, but we also have the spin-offs.
Something that we're going to watch.
Yeah. But we still have the spin-offs. And so, I mean, there might be little breaks depending on when those things air. But I mean, they were already showing commercials about like Daryl and, the Rick and Michonne and,
you just have to watch Kids Show version 2.0.
Oh, anyways, thank you, Renee. No, like you hit a bunch of the same points that we kind of mentioned too. And Pamela, she knew. She's got her hands much deeper into the things that I think we were not sure about. And the Mercer and Princess like little interaction. I thought that too. Was that all you had to do is look at Mercer's face. So I don't think he's going to die. I have not read the comics, but I don't think that he does. There's any like risk in that because I think he's a big part of this story. So I don't think we're going to see anything like that. But I definitely want to see Princess and Mercer like survive and ride off into the sunset happily ever after. They're kind of, I don't know. They're definitely, I feel, just made for each other. And it's good to see Mercer's finding somebody that is actually making him have those thoughts and being challenged. His sister's one thing. That's family. Like my brother's going to try to challenge me on stuff and I'll be like, well, whatever. You're my brother. I don't care. It's like, it's not the same interaction, but when it's love, it's someone that you care about or whatever, then it's kind of like it has a little bit more weight and he cares about Princess. And it seems like that she's really the only one that he like that can get to him. And so we'll see how this plays out. It's like, it was such a great like scene between them and great to see, our Princess just, I'm going to say it's going to be awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Renee, for your voicemail. You did leave some written feedback, so I'll go into that. And you said, Pamela is a psycho, and Lance was acting like a puppy dog when she was rubbing his head. What the hell? Facepalm, facepalm, shock face. I agree. It kind of felt dirty. And they went there with the whole, like, her putting her hand down his pants to get the coin, but you didn't know that at first. And so I was thinking like, oh, they're pulling some Game of Thrones stuff. Like, we just like something's not right here. So I don't know. She goes on, she says she wants to keep Sebastian alive. Thinking face. She's like, for what reason? And she wasn't acting like a mother in mourning. She was acting like someone that's psycho, kind of like the governor. I want them to end this Commonwealth mess. Shrug. Peace and love, you guys. Heart emoji. All right. Well, thank you, Renee. All right. Well, next is Dieta from Detroit. LT, you want to take?
And Dieta says, love the laugh Rosita gave Mercer in the interrogation room. Like, are we really doing this? And she said, it smelled like armpits and ass. And she has some laughing, rolling emojis. And yeah, most interrogation rooms do smell like armpits and ass. It's a tradition. Love Princess's I'm leaving go speech. Heart. Sharing her childhood trauma with Mercer, saying he was a good man, but she's not letting anybody tell her to be quiet, just accept things she knows is wrong. Crying face because it could be worse. She goes on to say, what was with Aaron? He was super on edge this whole episode. And she got some chin scratches there. We got to keep going. Mercer trying to coerce his sister into signing away her involvement in the Sebastian mayhem and blame Eugene backfired. She even two-shot at his character, which is continuing to support Pamela's bullshit. And yes, you had poop emojis, but I'll take artistic license. He said, did Eugene really try to fight Daryl?
Try.
Exactly, Princess. Why are our people talking about staying? Because she is so right that the poop is about to hit the fan. Ezekiel saying he wants to stay, continuing to help make change. And she's got cussing faces. Even after Princess says they will probably kill Eugene. Facepalm. Why? Get out while the getting is good. Pamela knows it was Hornsby's men who killed the workers and makes Hornsby feed him to her son. And then Rosita trying to convince Eugene not to turn himself in to save Max. Look at Eugene growing up. Overall, one hell of an episode. Can't wait to learn more about these supernova walkers and what happened to our people.
Yep, exactly. We want to know more. So many questions, but also great episode. Got a lot in it. All right. Well, thank you, Dieta. Next is Mike from Asheville and says, I pretty much mixed my feedback in with awesome sauce. I just really enjoyed this episode. The story keeps moving forward, and I'm starting to wonder what kind of ending are we headed towards, though. I would agree. Not that I know, like, I haven't read the comics, but, it's like, I just remember whenever the whole hoopla about like, oh, here's the very last episode, the last comic, book or whatever, they're not episodes, but whatever, issue number. And then, of course, that blew up the internet. And so obviously it was, unless you didn't have, like, you cut yourself off the internet. It's like, I saw what happened at the end, and it's kind of like, okay, they are following this to some degree, but we already know there's obviously been a lot of like creative license and changes. So it's like, how is this going to end? And that, I think, is what kind of makes this exciting for anybody that's read the comics or like, hasn't, but heard some stuff. So.
Because I think there's going to be some similarities, but we already know one thing that didn't happen that happened in the comics, because that particular character is no longer on the show.
Right. So. And
I think that one of the other characters that was involved in the postscript for that is no longer on the show.
So it leaves it all open.
Yep.
They can do anything. It's like they're free. All right. Thank you, Mike.
Oh, no. And that leaves us with Glynis from Toronto. And she starts out, the callback of Eugene meeting up with Abraham, his confession that he didn't have the cure, and his stay with the Saviors. But we've known already in The Walking Dead, Season 6, Episode 14, Twice as Far, that Eugene, as he stated to Abraham, he was long and deep in stage 2 of being a badass at the time. As he didn't rat out Abe to Dwight and company, he was really stalling for time so Abe could get to a better position to help out Rosita and Daryl after Dwight killed Denise. The Walking Dead folks, of course, are doing this on purpose to borrow and live off the show in its heyday when the watchers were in the tens of millions. It was a shock that Walker Sebastian was led into Lance's cell. I thought for sure when Pamela told the soldier to deal with it, it was going to be to kill Walker Sebastian.
And that's a good question, because like I had in my notes something about that, but then, as I watched the rest of the episode and did rewatch and stuff like that, I never caught that again until your feedback, Glynis. And then I was like, oh yeah, I was like, was that like a... It came off as like, oh yeah, like take care of him, as you would think of like, oh yeah, he's dead, so he turned, like, stab him in the head. So I wanted to bring that up because I'm like, yeah, it's like, that's, I don't know if that was, there's something more there, maybe we read it wrong, or if it was just a like, oh, maybe something changed and that just got shot and they never went back to reshoot it. So all right, continue.
Okay, that was the real switcheroo for Lance, thinking he was going to be set free after winning the coin bet. Instead, he was turned butcher and tasked with cutting off choice slices of that still fresh dead body and feed a hungry Walker Sebastian. If I was Lance, I'd kill Walker Sebastian, but I suppose he'd have to keep Sebastian alive, otherwise Pamela would just have him killed. So Carol managed to escape from Lance's cronies, if those guys are still working for Lance. Ezekiel was not so lucky and was nabbed, and it looks like as if Rosita has also been caught, although she put up a good fight. I agree with Megan and her feedback. Why didn't the Commonwealth soldiers search the church? It's like the Highlander. Thank you for validating me. On scared ground when you're all safe. Rosita was in apartment A, like the prison in section A. Terminus was in railcar A, the big painted A on Gabriel's church steps. The Wolves one truck was in A. Rick's house in Alexandria was also in A. Sanctuary had an A. Daryl wore an A when he was a prisoner of the Saviors, an A at the junkyard when Rick was jailed. Nothing good seems to come of being in or near something labeled with an A. And I was going to say, way to go, Glennis. That is a deep cut. And she goes on to say, and the Walking Dead team milking the past episode of Walking Dead Season 1, Episode 1 with walkers that seem to have a sense of themselves, with Morgan's walker wife trying the doorknob of her old home with Rick intently watching on the other side of the door. So this time, instead of Rick, it's Jerry to shout, "What the hell?" Then with the walker picking up the brick like the one Walker did in The Walking Dead Season 1, Episode 2 at the shopping mall, and also climbing the fence in pursuit of Rick and Glenn. That story plot route of clever walkers was stopped short in its tracks when AMC fired Frank Darabont. But it's good that they're bringing it back now as a sort of tribute to Frank's writing, though I now suspect it's possibly caused by the scientists weaponizing the walkers. And she finishes up by saying, "Come on, Mercer, time to switch sides and get on the right side of Max and Princess and stop suppressing what you know is the right thing for the Commonwealth."
Great feedback, Glennis. Yeah, like, you make a good point, and actually I kind of held back trying to like say anything because I knew what you put down here, because they are doing a lot of callbacks, and I don't know if this is one of those callbacks or if they are actually going on with this, because, we do see that in that clip at the end of World Beyond, and they brought, Jenner back, or at least his voice or whatever. And so it's like they're playing with this again to, do what? And it's kind of like what we already talked about. Like, if they wanted to do that, they should have been doing this throughout the rest of the whole, show, like season after season, like getting little clips of these, like, these walkers are not just mindless zombies, that there's like, there's some are like a little bit, different than others, or variants, as this episode's named. And now it seems very, at least I thought it was like, it's starting to turn gimmicky, that it's just like, oh, okay, here, it's like, let's do something different so we can keep your attention. And whether or not this is going to spill over into the spinoffs, I mean, that's, and we still have the CRM. Yes, we have the scientists that we're still working on how to like deal with the walker threats. It's kind of like, is there a bigger story here with these, these walkers and why we're seeing them now? And, I guess I hate saying this. I guess we'll wait to see, because it is kind of like, it feels like a little bit like a missed opportunity. And yes, if it's a callback, great, because yes, they should call back that, Frank Darabont had the show in the very beginning, and it's definitely changed compared to that,
It has. And of course, I was going to say, since you mentioned it, sir, given the fact that nobody can reconnoiter worth a poop in the Walking Dead universe, it wouldn't shock me at all if the CRM is out there and they're blithely going about their business and have no clue that the Commonwealth is here, since obviously we can find all sorts of things that are right under our noses the entire time and we didn't know they were there.
Right.
Obviously the fact that you have helicopters doesn't mean that anyone is looking at the ground.
Or everybody's just deaf enough they just can't hear helicopters.
Well, I don't think it's that. I think it's got to be, obviously, the Walker virus in the live but uninfected caused nearsightedness.
Well, also deafness, because how many times have we always had
that? You're right.
We've brought it up many times, especially on Fear. It's like, it just
maybe it's like COVID-21. Instead of losing your taste and your smell, you lose your visual acuity and your hearing.
Or that everybody's like nearsighted. I don't know.
That hurts. I'm already nearsighted. I don't want to be more nearsighted.
Oh, goodness gracious. All right. Thank you so much, Glennis, as always. All right. Well, that was the rest of our listeners' feedbacks. Did you have anything else to add? I think we've pretty much, everybody has hit everything.
I think, and I want to say thanks, guys, because Kyle and I can have a good time talking amongst ourselves, but the fact that you guys are being our third, fourth, fifth, sixth set of eyes, and you guys pick up on things that sometimes we miss, and I really appreciate the fact that we're getting feedback. And I know it's work for you guys, but thank you for doing that, because sometimes it's not nearly as much fun when it's just us and what we've got to say. That we appreciate the feedback from our listeners, and we definitely appreciate the feedback.
Yes, here.
So that's a nice way of saying, please keep sending feedback. We love you guys, but please just take a moment.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for your awesome feedback. So that takes us into our news, ratings, and info.
There's a couple weird stories on the news. I don't know. Do you want to do this, or I'll just do it? Or it's up to you.
Well, I can do it.
You're all right.
And so we have ratings for this week. For The Walking Dead, Season 11, Episode 19 is up with a 0.31 in the 18 to 49 with 1.358 million viewers. That's a 0.51 in the 25 to 54 and a 0.80 in the 50 and above. As compared to last week, where we had a 0.29 in the 18 to 49 with 1.347 million viewers, a 0.47 with the 25 to 54, and a 0.79 with the 50 plus. This week for Talking Dead, Season 11, Episode 19 of The Talking Dead got a 0.04 in the 18 to 49 with 282,000 viewers. That's the same numeric rating, but it's down on viewer count from last week, where it got a 0.04 with 339,000 viewers.
I still don't understand how that works.
And I don't either. Yeah. Now, to compare and contrast, we have ratings for Interview with the Vampire. This week, they got a 0.09 in the 18 to 49 with 445,000 viewers, a 0.14 with the 25 to 54, and a 0.27 with the 50 plus. Last week, they also had a 0.09 in the 18 to 49, but with 525,000 viewers, a 0.14 with the 25 to 54, and a 0.32 with the 50 plus. So obviously the 50 plus are becoming bored with Interview with the Vampire. And also, we have some ratings for House of the Dragon. This week, House of the Dragon got a 0.36 in the 18 to 49 with 1.559 million viewers, a 0.57 in the 25 to 54, and a 0.90 with the 50 plus. Last week, they had a 0.40 in the 18 to 49 with 1.731 million viewers and no further breakdown. So it looks like that even House of the Dragon was down this week, but Walking Dead was up.
Yep, that's good. And no, that's like what I was trying to saying or was saying before. It's like I don't understand, because obviously the point ratings, I don't know what they span, but it's like when I was with Nielsen's, like my me watching a show counted for 33,000 people. So it was kind of like, oh, me and my husband are both watching a show. That's 66. So it's kind of like, I don't know how to, you can have the same score, but less viewers. So unless it's just a span of between 300,000 or 200,000 and 300,000, that's a point, Mm-hmm. It just seems weird. That's okay, well, less people watched it, but I guess it got the same rating. Anyways, they actually called me and wanted I didn't have time. I was like, oh, call me back, which they never did. But I don't know. They want me to do possibly another household.
Oh, that would be fun.
But I mean, it's probably like it probably won't happen before I mean, I don't know. I don't think they know that I moved from Chicago. Maybe that's probably why they're like thinking I'm still up there. Anyways.
Oh, wait. And did we talk about these parrots?
Mm-mm.
Hey, we have some parrots. It's for the week of October 1st to October 7th. And of course, on top of the list, with a 96.7 times the average demand, or the demand for an average show, we have Game of Thrones on top. Number 2, we have Stranger Things at 81.2. Our perennial favorite, SpongeBob SquarePants, coming in third at 73.4. And down the list, it looks like at number 8 is The Walking Dead, with a 57.9 times the demand of the average show.
Nice.
And the week before, for the 24th to the 30th of September, Walking Dead was on the bottom. It was number 10 at 47.6 times. So Walking Dead is coming up.
Nice. Well, good. I mean, we see that in the rating set, like maybe because it is the end, and also they have been really great episodes that people are starting to, definitely watch it, because I know, people don't watch stuff when it airs. They watch it on DVR, like, us on AMC Plus, watch it the week before. But it's good. I hope they get really strong ratings, and I hope the finale's great. So it's got a lot to look forward to. All right. Well, on the news front, I just came across this article just about the Daryl spinoff that Norman Reedus, he teased a way different Walking Dead spinoff, in the sense that, I guess it's not like, of course they're hyping stuff, but we'll see what happens. But he was hinting that it's going to be something completely different than what we've seen before, what we expect. He did give some info that he was saying that, obviously he's in France, but he gets there by ship. But he gets put there, and he basically says, I don't go there on my own free will. So we don't know if that means he got captured or who or what, how that happens. But apparently this is not him jumping in a boat like Michonne did and just sailing off in the sunset. He just something happens to him. He gets thrown in a boat, which would be interesting, because how many boats do you know that are still traveling, across oceans, that are still functioning?
Do you want me to say it, Kyle?
Yes, go.
Padre.
Oh, if that is where oh gosh, then okay.
Padre.
That's how this all happens.
Hey, they have a boat.
Yes, they do, and somehow it travels up around the Gulf of Mexico up to the East
I was
Coast.
I was going to say no. Let's go a little more preposterous. Somewhere in Halifax, Nova Scotia, there's a crew of a whaler that wants to go back to England.
Oh, so yeah. Well, I guess at least we got a little bit of tidbits of what is going, how he's going to end up in Europe, because we know that's going to happen. So, and he kind of mentioned a little bit that it's definitely going to be different. I guess he talked a little bit about that there's, it's going to be nothing like we've seen before, but because of what we saw in World Beyond, and it was a French scientist, there obviously might be something more about these, faster, scarier zombies, which I'm kind of like Renee. Right. I'm kind of like Renee, though. It's like, I liked World War Z, but I don't like fast zombies. I like them slow. It doesn't need to be like the hive mind, just 50 million CG, like, like going crazy, this and that. It's like, I don't mind the herds because you can see them coming, but then they end up basically building, and that's exciting because everybody's like freaking out, and then you get the slow trickle until it's like, okay, now the dam has burst, that kind of thing.
And it's the thing that somebody talked about of why being shot with an arrow is more psychologically traumatizing than being shot with a bullet. Mm-hmm. Because the arrow is traveling slow enough that your eye can perceive the flight, but fast enough that you can't react to it and get out of the way.
Right.
So the thing about the slow zombies is you see them coming, they keep coming, and you can't, you have to run away from them because you can't stop them.
Yeah. And that's definitely much more like builds the intensity. So it's like, it gives you more time to react and more like have your feels than just being like, oh, it just happens too fast. But so hopefully it's not going to be that way, but I don't know. I'll still watch it, and it seems like it's going to be kind of an interesting take on it, and we'll get new characters. I mean, Daryl's going to be there, but we're going to meet other new people, and we like new people. All right. Well, that was really all the news I have. I don't know if you have anything to add.
I don't.
All right. Well, then, LT, you want to tell people how to interact with us?
I shall. We want to encourage you to follow us on Twitter and Instagram. That's at Walking Dead TTM. To submit your theories and feedback, most people post in our designated episode thread in our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/WalkingDeadTTM. You can send us email. That's walkingdead@talkthroughmedia.com. You can also use our feedback form on the webpage. That's at talkthroughmedia.com/feedback. If you'd like to leave us voicemail, remember you can call 216-232-6146. And all of our new episodes are on YouTube. Just search for Talk Through Media and remember to subscribe and click that bell to get notified when we have new videos. Those videos go out first before the podcast does.
And to support us, like and review the Talk Through Media Facebook page. You can find that at facebook.com/talkthroughmedia. And as always, the best way you can support us is in our Patreon. You can find that at patreon.com/walkingdeadtalkthrough. And we would like to thank our Patreon supporters, Mike Rollo, Scott Kerr, Renee Murray, Dieta Patterson, that guy over there, Lawrence Todd.
Hello.
And this guy, me, Kyle McAdams. Remember that Mike, Scott, Dieta, and Renee will be getting an early episode of a version of the episode this week. You can subscribe to us in Apple Podcasts or your podcast client of choice. And while you're there, give us a rating or review. You can also leave us a review at podchaser.com. There you can actually rate individual episodes or the whole podcast. And as always, remember to share our posts on Facebook and Twitter when we post them, or tell a friend. Word of mouth is the best way to get us new listeners. All right. Well, what else can be listened on our network, Brian?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Kyle. Well, of course, the Rebinge Deep Space Nine podcast is going on right now and has been week by week for quite some time now. They are deep into season 5. I guess they're getting close to season 6 at this point, covering that great Star Trek program in the franchise. And we are still going through our episodes of the new Star Trek. I finally got released episode 9 of Strange New Worlds. I had hoped to get through episode 10 and into Lower Decks. Unfortunately, work calls again, and I thought I was going to have a nice little break, but turns out I don't. So I will try to get episodes out as I can, and that's it. But you will find all of them as part of the Talk Through Media all-inclusive feed. Almost said Talking Dead all-inclusive feed. Anyway, the Talk Through Media all-inclusive feed, which covers the Star Trek Discovery podcast, Star Trek Picard cast, Star Trek Lower Decks Talk Through, Star Trek Strange New Worlds Talk Through, Star Trek Prodigy by Rebinge It, Rebinge Deep Space Nine, and The Walking Dead Talk Through, this very podcast. So, and if you want to get episodes early for the Star Trek podcast, go to patreon.com/Star Trek TTM to sign up as low as $1 a month.
All right. Well, the next episode is The Walking Dead Season 11, Episode 20, What's Been Lost, written by Eric Mountain and directed by, guess who? Alicia Tyler. And I double-checked that because I thought maybe I'm like looking at the wrong Wikipedia, but
it's Alicia Tyler is back.
Yes, and not as Mickey, but as a director. So I'm very interested about this. Okay, the description from AMC Plus is Daryl and Carol investigate the whereabouts of their friends after Pamela disappeared them from the Commonwealth. So until next time, I'm Kyle.
And I'm LT.
And I'm Brian.
And this is The Walking Dead Talk Through. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.